Welcome to the None But Curious podcast. We're all about finding inspiration in life's uncertainties. Whether you're still figuring things out, questioning your beliefs, or just curious about the world, come hang out with us as we celebrate the beauty of not having all the answers. Hey friends, welcome back to None But Curious. I'm Candy, and I am recording in one of my favorite places, which I'll share with you later. Do you know that feeling of being stuck when life feels flat, uninspired, kind of pointless? It really creeps in quietly, doesn't it? You wake up, you go through the motions, and then eventually you wonder when everything started feeling gray. Sometimes it shows up in your work, sometimes in your relationships, sometimes in that deeper, harder to name part of you that's searching for some sort of meaning or purpose. So today we're going to explore that feeling, what stagnation actually is, why it's not always a bad thing, and what you can do when you find yourself in it. So let's start with the basics. Stagnation is the opposite of movement. It's like spinning your wheels and being stuck in the mud. You're doing the work, but you're not going anywhere. Psychologists describe it in terms of human development. Erik Erikson talked about generativity versus stagnation. Generativity is about growth and contribution, creating, caring, connecting. Stagnation is when that flow stops. You feel cut off, disconnected, as if your efforts don't matter. Now, Erikson tied this stage to midlife, but honestly, anyone can land there. Stuckness doesn't care about age. You can be 16 or 40 or 72. It shows up when you've outgrown an old rhythm, but you haven't yet found a new one. And this idea isn't just psychological. Mystics and writers across cultures have named it too. In Catholic tradition, there's the phrase spiritual dryness, when prayer or meditation suddenly feels hollow. Some mystics called it the dark night of the soul, not as punishment, but as a necessary emptying before renewal. Strip away the religious framing and what they were describing is universal. It's that point when the things that used to give you meaning stop working, and now you're left in silence. And maybe, just maybe, that silence is where something new is trying to begin. Stagnation isn't failure. It's feedback. When life is easy, we rarely stop to ask deeper questions. But when we hit a wall, when things dry up, that discomfort forces reflection. That's when we start asking, why am I doing this? What still matters to me? What needs to change? Discomfort can be the mind's alarm clock. It's not there to punish you. It's there to wake you up. Think of stagnation like a tide pulling back right before a wave. You can't see the movement yet, but the energy is shifting. Erikson's insight reminds us, stagnation isn't a verdict, it's a signal. It's a kind of inner restlessness saying, you've outgrown this chapter. Maybe it's a job, a belief, a way of relating to the world. That tension is your psyche stretching toward what's next. And if you think back to the mystics again, they understood this intuitively. The dark night wasn't the end, it was the threshold. It is the time when surface joys fall away so something deeper can root itself. And maybe that's what's happening when life feels dull. The surface layers are quieting, so the underground ones can breathe. Yeah, stagnation feels terrible, but it's not meaningless. It's often the space where the next version of you starts forming. All right, let's talk about what to do when you're in that space, because we get there time and again. Knowing that stuckness has meaning doesn't make it easier to sit with, right? So here are some ways to loosen the mud, if you will. 1, make friends with silence. Instead of escaping it, try sitting in it. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. No phone, no playlist, just you. Silence can feel awkward at first, like an empty room you don't want to enter. Stay a little longer. You might start to hear what's underneath the noise, your own thoughts, your feelings, your yearnings. Silence doesn't demand productivity, it invites presence. And often, that's the first crack in the wall of stagnation. 2, try a daily check-in. At the end of the day, take a minute to notice. When did you feel most alive today? When did you feel drained? You don't have to journal a novel. In fact, you could probably write a few words either in your planner or put them in your phone in a little notes app. A few quick words are enough. Over time, patterns will appear, and you'll start to see what gives you energy and what quietly takes it away. This kind of awareness doesn't fix stagnation overnight, but it gives it direction. It turns the fog into a map. 3, do something generative. When you feel stuck, the instinct is often to retreat, to wait for inspiration to strike. But movement often comes after action, not before it. Do one small thing that creates or contributes. Bake bread. Plant something. Paint badly. Offer to help a friend move. Write the email you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be perfect or even meaningful at first. The act of giving energy outward interrupts the loop of self-containment. When you pour out even a little, life tends to pour back. 4, change the inputs. If your days feel repetitive, so will your thoughts. Try changing the ingredients of your attention. Read something completely outside your usual. Listen to a podcast about a subject you've never cared about. Go somewhere new, even if it's just the next town over. Change the way you drive to school or work. Fresh input stirs the water. New voices, new places, new textures. They remind your brain that the world is larger than your current feeling of stuckness. 5, reconnect with the body. When your inner world feels sluggish, physical movement can help thaw it. Walk without a destination. Stretch until you can feel the tension you've been ignoring. Dance badly and wildly in your kitchen. You can't think your way out of stagnation entirely. Sometimes the body leads the mind back to motion. 6, let curiosity lead instead of control. When we feel stuck, the impulse is to force clarity, to fix it. But often, forcing only deepens the frustration. What if you replaced, I have to figure this out, with, I wonder what's trying to happen here? Curiosity softens control. It creates space for surprise. And surprise, whether it's an idea, a conversation, or a small burst of energy, is the seed of movement. 7, and the last one. See stagnation as compost. It smells bad. It's the stuff we throw away. But underneath, transformation is happening. It's waste becoming nourishment. Your stuck seasons might be composting something too. Old habits, outdated versions of yourself, beliefs that no longer fit. It does not look pretty. Ever. But, given time, that decay becomes fertile ground for new growth. So here's the whole reason behind today's episode. This whole year has been full of life changes for me and my family. And somewhere along the way, I realized it had been months since I had used my watercolors. All right, it's closer to a year. Earlier this summer, I dusted off my sewing machine and I made myself a dress. Woo! But honestly, if I'm really honest, I didn't do it because I was inspired or in love with the craft. I did it because it was on my to-do list. It was something to cross off so that I could feel productive. And that's when it hit me. Nothing had been really inspiring me. I've been showing up for everyone else, taking off boxes, doing what needs be done, and that quiet spark that usually lives underneath everything slowly faded away. And I can feel it affecting my mood, my energy, and even the patience with people that I love. So, a couple weeks ago, I tried something small. I carved out time to visit the lake near my home, which is where I am right this moment when I record. It's a place I somehow forget about even though it's just minutes away. So every morning, I started going for a short visit. I had no agenda, no self-improvement goal, no, hey, I'll turn this into content later. I was just being near the water. 10, maybe 15 minutes at most. That small effort to simply be somewhere I love shifted something. The sounds of the wind and the birds, the light on the surface of the lake, the repetitive motion of the waves, it created just enough space inside of me to feel like I could breathe again. Then I started journaling in the mornings. Nothing fancy, just a few lines about what I observed. The shape of the clouds, the ripple of the wind on the water, a new bird that I haven't seen in a while, things that have been weighing on me. Some of my entries are simply observations, and then some are reflections and emotional purges. And then, without forcing it, I felt like painting again. So I have 2 watercolor pieces so far that I've made. They're not masterpieces, but that's totally not the point. I never paint to impress anyone. I paint to remember what presence feels like. Pulling out the brushes, setting up the paper, dipping into colors. It really felt like coming home after being away for too long. Sometimes getting unstuck isn't about overhauling your life. It's about these really small, steady gestures of return back to a place, a practice, or a part of yourself that helps you feel alive again. All right? So I share that with you because the truth is stagnation feels awful. It's so shitty. But it's not the end of the story. It's really a pause between chapters. It's your body and mind saying, something is finished and something new is gathering. So instead of panicking, try listening. Let silence, curiosity, and small acts of creation do their work. Trust that this slow, murky, uncertain space is still part of becoming. Because stillness isn't failure. Stagnation isn't failure. It's the prelude to movement. Thanks for listening today. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who might need a little reminder that being stuck doesn't mean being lost. It just means you're in the middle of transformation. And if you like more things like this, you can find the None But Curious podcast wherever you listen, or you can visit the website nonebutcurious.org. And until next time, be very gentle with your in-between.